Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to our last in the series of open houses for MSc program, which is starting in September. It's a fully online program, so it offers you a convenient way to study to earn your master's degree, which is unique in the field of transpersonal psychology. Feel free in our next hour to ask questions in the chat to learn, what questions do you have about the program? I see some of you here, we've been in dialogue. So, this is your time if you'd like to go into more depth, by all means. But first, let me introduce you to our MSc academic program leader, Dr. Kendra Ford. She will talk more about the program, introduce you to other members of the Alef Trust team and the alumni.
Welcome, everybody, and thank you, Nick, for getting us started today. I'm here joined with module leader and community coordinator Ellis Linders, who also has gone through the program as well, so she can speak from both sides as a faculty member as well as a student. Francesca Hector is also here, who coordinates a lot of the community and alumni events and organizational aspects of, once you're in the program and, how to stay connected to the larger community. And we also have a few alumni here. Peter Kimware, who notified us he's in a bit of a blackout, so he doesn't have his camera on, but you can see his name sort of in the gallery here. And Matt Gira and Darren Bender will be joining us as well. So it's nice to see all of you here today. Really looking forward to spending this hour with you and to talking about the MSc and to answering any questions that you have about the program or the application process. I'll say a few words about what makes our program unique, what it's like to teach in the program, and what it's like to just be a part of this transformative community. So I've been with Alef Trust for 7 years now. As you can tell by my accent, I live in the United States. We have faculty that are from all over the world, many of them based in parts of Europe. We have a faculty member in South Africa. Our community is of faculty is a community of experts in our field. We teach in fields that we have been studying, that we have been working within for many, many years. And we bring our passion of transpersonal psychology, our particular fields of study within the overarching umbrella of transpersonal psychology into our teaching. And our program is really set and designed to be transformative. So not only do we apply the transformative pedagogy, which is really geared towards providing content, providing a learning environment that is geared towards not just learning the content and the theory, which is really, really important. Of course, this is a master's in science. So we want to make sure that you have all of those foundational skills as well as knowledge of the field when it comes to content and theory. But we also design the program in a way that you get to experience and work with practices, and you get to engage in theory, not just in a way that you're looking at how does this apply to the field of psychology, but how does it apply to your life? How do you integrate what you're learning into your life? And how does that then enhance perhaps your personal relationships, your professional relationships? Maybe it shifts you into an entirely different field of work. Maybe that's why you're interested in joining a master's program. You've been maybe working in a field that has served you really well, and now you're interested in maybe shifting gears, and you're looking for a program that can help you not only develop the skills and the knowledge to do that, to enter into a new field, but also to gain the confidence and the personal development that's perhaps required for that shift in your career. And so what I want to say is that the program has been designed in order to kind of take you through these various different steps to build the capacity and the wealth of knowledge in these fields to prepare you for that third year, which is where you then get to engage in your own original research project. One of the faculty members that we have here, Ellis Linders, she teaches on the first year module, which is learning through integrative practice. And this module is really that personal development module. I'm wondering if Ellis, you'd like to maybe say a few words about that module and how it just kind of invites students into the transformative education process, and then also how it serves as a foundation for the rest of the program.
Yeah, I would say learning through integrative practice is completely foundational to the course. It's a module where you're invited to choose a practice across 5 domains of your beingness, which is the spiritual, but also then the emotional, the rational, the interpersonal, which one have I left? Oh, the physical, of course. So it's really about what does it mean to undergo a process of transformation, transformative development. And we kind of frame the module within the context of being a researcher of your own experience. So you really get to dive quite deeply into what it actually means in practice. What is the experience of self-transformation, so that when you then make that bridge to theory, that you kind of have a more embodied understanding of what that theory is actually saying, right? Theory is written by human beings who have gone through a process of understanding, and then they wrote something, right? So if we go through a similar process for ourselves, then we can make better relationship to the theory. So that's the thinking behind that. And also, I think it's really important. You will then go to year 2 and do research assignment, and then you go to year 3 and you do your own research project, and you'll be interviewing people about usually some kind of transformative process that they themselves have undergone. And so it's the LIP is learning through integrative practice is foundational because you have a kind of grounded understanding of what kind of questions you would ask a person like that in the first place, because you've been through the process. So there are all kinds of kind of threads, I suppose, that students in year 3 suddenly kind of go, aha, things start to fall into place in year 3 that they kind of relate back to LIP. So I would say that the whole of the course, the 3-year trajectory, is a constellation. Each module has its own focus. Of course, they're all overlapping and all interrelated, but each give you a very specific skill towards becoming a transpersonal researcher or a transpersonal practitioner. Yeah. Any further questions? Fire away.
Thank you so much, Ellis. Yeah, and I think, one thing I'll just sort of run with a little bit from what you said, Ellis, is that, part of the reason why we have this as a foundational course is because us as faculty have also gone through our own transformative processes that have informed the work that we do, how we teach, how we hold the program as a whole, how we interact with students, how we interact with our own professional fields, the research that we do. And so we're really inviting you into a process that we ourselves have also gone through. And as faculty, especially those of us who teach on learning through integrative practice, we tend to kind of cycle through this process. And so we're also as faculty in a place of continual growth. I think that's really an element of transformative education, right? We're in this learning environment together. There's co-creative aspects of what we do. And yes, we, we understand the theory, we understand the content, we have expertise in what we're teaching. And we also acknowledge that we are constantly learning in this community with you. And we really invite students in the program to take ownership of their education, to take ownership of their passions, and to really bring what it is that you're wanting to cultivate both within yourself, in your professional work, in your research, to really bring that to the forefront and to kind of see, what you can do with that, how you can research that, even also how you can apply that into your professional world. We have a module in the second year that is specifically oriented towards application of these theories. If you've been kind of involved or you've been looking at transpersonal psychology for a while, that's been one of those bridges that transpersonal psychology has really most recently been working on. How do we, not just work on this theory for ourselves, but how do we use what we've learned personally, professionally, research oriented? How do we then take that out into the world and create effective change in, the populations or in the global societies or the groups, or even just within our families and our local communities? How do we then take this out into the world and affect change? So I see there's a question. I'm happy to take your question, Diane.
Hi, yes, this is all really exciting. And I just wanted to share, if I could, a word that was very useful I did a master's program through Antioch, in body-centered psychotherapy, and they defined their program as inductive learning. And this is what you seem to be describing, but not using the term that I found quite empowering. That deductive is we know about the world, so therefore we can understand ourselves. And inductive is we know about ourselves and our own processes, so we can understand the world. And I just found so much empowerment in that term, inductive learning. So I just felt like I wanted to propagate the term for on one hand. And then I also am curious because I knew that this was a program for the masters. I wonder if it's a similar venue for going on for the PhD, because that's what I'm interested in doing through Alef Trust. And just wondering if this is the appropriate place to launch that discussion or not. I'm happy to just stay and listen to what you have to offer otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Yeah, there is an inductive quality, sort of as you've put it. We definitely use the term transformative education, which very much sort of holds some similar qualities to that, in that we're not solely emphasizing theory. We're also emphasizing the personal experience. And we acknowledge that, students that come into our program are mature learners, they're adult learners, you've had experiences, and that's often why you're interested in this particular program, right? Because it has this other element of, that personal quality, or, we're looking at psychology, we're engaging in psychology in a different way than the mainstream, and we're inviting you into your educational process in a way that really engages the whole body and the whole being. Absolutely. I think for the question about the PhD, maybe Nick, would you like to answer that question? Oh, you're muted, Nick.
My apologies. I didn't click the mouse right. Yeah, just very briefly, because we need to keep focus on the MSc, but Alef Trust also has a PhD program. And, just tacking on from what you've heard already, sometimes going through this learning through learning of practice opens up the student to research. We've had people come onto our PhD program who had no inkling when they started that they wanted to really delve deeply into that. So with that being said, in the British system, you're going from a master's degree into a PhD. So it's a Master of Science and then into the PhD. And in the British system, there are no classes. There are no seminars. It's purely research. It can go anywhere from 4 to 7 years, depending if you're going to be doing it part-time or full-time. So that setup that it's purely research sometimes throws people, especially students from North America, where we do have classes for the first at least minimally 2 years going into your PhD. So I hope that would answer that question. And then one other that I was already responding to Ira in Maryland. I think some of the question is the United States programs, you're accredited, you need a creditor, and also from the federal government, CHIA, and then your State Department of Education. So there's 3 areas where you would need to find for accreditation. We can't speak to the state of Maryland because we're dealing with 50 separate jurisdictions in the United States, but generally we are fully accredited by Liverpool John Moores University. I've been through 2 of the accreditation processes with them, and I've also come from academic background in the US, so I've been through a number of them. It is on par with a regional accreditor. So if you were in Maryland, it'd be the Middle States accreditors. If you're out west, the West Coast, WASC from there. So that's its integrity. Our program really does go through a considerable amount of scrutiny, as it should, and all academic programs. So I hope that answers your question. If there anything else specifically, then please email me and we'll go through there. I'm based in Virginia. I've had my education in Maryland and Virginia, so I can help you out. Okay.
Thanks, Nick.
Back to you, Kelly.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, Ellis, it looks like you have something you'd like to also say.
Yeah, I just, for a start, one thing to add about the PhD program, that we do provide kind of support structures for you on Canvas, but we're staying focused on the MSc. I just looked at a question here. There's several questions from JRG Roberts. Where does the spiritual come in? What does the program have to offer to those who are already post-transformation? Does transformation ever stop? Is it a place where we arrive and then that's it? Life goes on, right? I would also emphasize that this is not a course where you are required or expected to, spiritually transform. We're not asking you to become enlightened as part of the course. The course is a scientific inquiry into what it means to go through transformative processes within the context of the transpersonal, i.e., we see ourselves as rational, emotional, etc. beings, but also spiritual beings. So the context is wider. So if you have had, as many of our students have had, some kind of awakening experience or big spiritual experiences, then actually a course like this will really help you find the language, help you integrate all of that, help you ground that, and so forth. And like I said, life goes on, right? So I hope that answers your question, JRG. If you want to unmute and add to that, very happy to riff on that one a little bit further.
Yes, that does tend to cover the general area that I was interested in. One does find oneself rather a loose end, having ticked quite a few of the boxes on the list that one has in life, and this may be of interest. Certainly would give me something to do and to focus.
Hey, just give you further angles that maybe you haven't, for instance, right?
Oh, absolutely. The processes never stop until death. So, which may be a while yet, I hope. Anyway, I'll unmute because you've covered my issues. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is a wonderful time to hand it over to Francesca Hector, who can introduce us to the alumni. And maybe there's, elements. I see that there's multiple questions. I'm loving all of the questions that are coming through. And I think it would be a wonderful time to hear some of the experiences of students who have gone through the program, so you can hear it from their perspective as well. So Francesca, over to you.
Thanks, Kendra. And wow, just taking a moment to pause and breathe with all these wonderful questions that are coming in. And some of these questions can be answered by our alumni. I'm sure you'll be interested in hearing what they have to say as well. So I'd like to introduce Matt, Darren, and Peter, who are with us today. And perhaps you could each take a few moments just to introduce yourselves and speak to what the MSc program has been for you, how this has helped your personal professional development, and which fields you're working in and what you have gone on to do. So that was a question in the chat. Where does this MSc lead? So it'll be great to hear about your own experiences and journeys. Looking around, maybe Darren, you'd like to get the ball rolling. Welcome, Darren. Great to have you with us.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
I'm somewhat amused by the question, in a way, of where does it lead? Yeah, I'll just describe something of my process, my experience with it, and my process. I was working in broadcast television for 30 years before I did the program, and had given it up because I felt that the world was in trouble, and me included, and that I was working in an industry that was about entertainment, distraction. There was some information there was some value to it, but largely it was about distraction. And I gave it up because I felt that I wasn't really contributing to a wider transformation that needed to take place, or that is taking place, perhaps not as quickly as we need it to. And I started exploring transformational workshops, and I got myself into a conversation with a tutor in a workshop who was telling me that consciousness was a side effect of the senses, and where they meet in the brain, they were producing experience, which made no sense to me at all. And so I started looking for deeper learning, and I came across the MSc and felt that it fitted me, except that I didn't have any academic experience. I'd left school at 14 and hadn't done anything really since in all that time. So it was a challenge to learn how to write essays. Really starting right at the very beginning, and coming in at a master's level was definitely a challenge. And as I got into it, I found myself changing in all sorts of ways. As Ellis was saying, just sort of, if looking at it modally, just every aspect really of my life changed from going through the process. And that was just the first year, really, I'd say. And then in the second year, when we started to get deeper into our choices in the different modules and things, just so many things opened up, things that I didn't know I was interested in, didn't know would draw me. And I found myself just exploring deeper and deeper things within me and things in the world. And a whole new way of kind of being in the world really opened up to me personally and professionally. And yeah, so I did eventually return to filmmaking, and I am now making a documentary that is really an extension of the work that I was doing in the course. And I found that I just have to, like, I couldn't have done it full time. It was really important that it was online and that it was part time and it fitted in with all the other things that I'm trying to do, like parenting. And you can see I'm also converting a chapel into a residential accommodation. Life goes on. And so, yeah, everyone was really flexible with me, really helped me. No end of support, whatever the struggle was, and I had plenty of struggles along the way. Yeah. Does that give something? I'm starting to ramble, I think.
That's great. That's great, Darren. Thank you. And it's really picking up on again, this transformative element of the program and how it has carried you through and further.
Yeah,
And
more than I could have expected or imagined, I think. Yeah, be prepared for that, I think, if you want to. If that's what you want, then you'll get it.
Darren, thank you. And Matthew, if you would like to share a little about your experiences and where the program has taken you.
Sure. Thank you, Francesca. Can you hear me? Well, yes. Okay. For me, it's like in two parts, but not really two parts. I never came from an academic background, so this was my first MSc, and there was a lot of patience, from all the teachers, guiding me, especially with the essays. I did, however, go through it. However, the content within the MSc gave me a lot of, on an academic style to be more proficient in business. I come from a business sense, and I don't think I will ever stop. And also on how to be more structured. I was very much all over the place, especially in business. The structure, on an academic style was very, very important for me. And the difference was clearly seen even in the first year, especially where I was working at. Now, obviously, that also, the full process, the epistemology, let's say, the method is the method, but the epistemology also, assisted me being more clearer, towards, partners and investors in business. And right now, I'm a CEO and a co-owner. And that was a very important aspect that I needed to learn. The other part is this MSc, whilst it's an MSc and it could be academically recognized worldwide for whatever, field you wish to go for, it's more of a personal journey. I took one of the major attributes from here was the non-local mind, which is something that if you don't already know about it, but it's something that you will touch base within the MSc. And I started to question a lot of things, not in a negative way, but the reality of things. So whilst I'm using it for business, I'm also using this the knowledge that I've retrieved from the MSc for personal growth. So it's always going to be there for you, regardless how long you've finished the masters or not. So in two folds, basically, that's my experience so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. And of course, you can address any questions directly to Darren, to Matthew as well, and also to Peter. If your connection is stable, Peter, if you're able to come in, share a few snippets.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Francesca, can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Okay, that's fine. So I got okay. I'm in the darkness in the rural area of Kenya somewhere. So bear with me. So before I joined the program, I was hoping to do positive psychology, but it just didn't resonate with me at all. So when I discovered the consciousness, spirituality, and transpersonal psychology, it really rang all the bells. Because I was keen to have a better understanding of what I believed, because I felt that I didn't need to do a theology program to understand Christianity better. And for me, I believe um, getting to have an academic understanding of spirituality improved my understanding of my own beliefs. Another thing also was I was very narrow-minded in my understanding of the various beliefs that exist. But Aleph helped me to recognize that spirituality is broader than what I had been thinking. So I left with a lot of respect for the different beliefs that exist. And also, I've had my peers saying that they got in without academic backgrounds, and I was kind of in the same boat. And what I can say about Aleph was those of us who were there really got in that space, got a lot of support. But I also noticed those who were academic were also able to get challenged as well. So for those of us who may be academically inclined, don't think it will be an easy ride. Yeah. Regarding transition, say into where I am now, when I joined Aleph, I was a health and safety manager somewhere. But as I progressed with the program, I felt I couldn't continue with that particular profession, mainly because my passion for it was gone. So how the program helped me was being in an African country, one doesn't get financial support if you leave your job. So for me, it was a very major step for me, and I felt very supported by my new understanding of what reality is. So as we speak, I transitioned to managing a factory. So I'm managing a factory in a rural area, and some of the things that I am confident about what I am doing is whatever I was thinking before in my previous space, I'm now confidently doing it because I have a lot of support from my understanding of what spirituality is, what consciousness is, and what transpersonal psychology is. Yeah, so I'm really excited to be here, and hopefully those who want to join will also get that excitement. Thank you very much.
Peter, thank you.
There's a question from Simon, directly to Darren. From one non-academic person to another, what was your experience, Darren, of what was your time commitment, sort of catching up with becoming an MSc student?
Can you hear me again? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. Sorry, the question is what time was involved? A lot for me, because really starting from scratch. I'd done a lot of. I was naturally a researcher in a way, because I was making documentaries for many years, and in a way, each film I made was a piece of research. You know, one had to go out and kind of know what you could about something, and then repackage it and tell it as a story for a wider audience. But I had no real skills, and I had no understanding of what I was doing sort of technically or scientifically, if you like. I was purely following curiosity, which is great. But then I had to learn really all these different sort of ways of doing things, and learning that there were different ways of doing things that had been developed by big brain people over a long period of time. it was a very powerful experience from that point of view. But it was, yeah, a little overwhelming initially, but then then pretty soon you saw the result of using those tools, and that's just very exciting. So yeah, maybe initially it felt like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? This is quite tough. But then as soon as you start applying the tools that you're learning, it opens so many doors and it accelerates your learning in so many different ways. So it goes from being kind of, well, for me, it went from being like, oh, can I keep up? I need to do more than everybody else to keep up, to actually feeling, no, I don't. What I need to do is I need to match it with who I am and what I know, and use what I need to use, and not worry about kind of being an expert in everything. And I've got other time later for doing that. And so I became more focused on what I was doing in the modules, and I learned not to expect too much of myself, not to try and read every single book on the reading list for that year or even that module, and to just to pick a couple. And also the other thing is you're in groups a lot of the time. You get support from the staff and your tutor, and personally and academically, there's different people for different things, but there's also all the other people that you're in your cohort and in your little module group and your study group, and you get paired up. Peter and I paired up an awful lot through the course, which was, just a wonderful experience, a great asset, because you tend to learn, you're reading different books, and so you're able to kind of not have to read some things by just mirroring stuff with your study partners and stuff. And yeah, there's just so many different ways of getting help to kind of get through that. But I'm not going to lie and say that it wasn't a bit scary initially. It was a shock to me initially, but yeah, I mean, I learned to swim and it was all right. Does that answer your question, Simon? I hope it does.
No, I was asking how much time. But yes, yeah, it put a lot of the context around it. Thank you, Darren. But I was just wondering how much time you actually had to commit to, to doing the.
Well, I'm a parent, so and I was working, so it had to fit in all that. So I don't know. I mean, I never counted the hours, but I coped with the other parts of life.
I'd like to pick up a couple of threads that I've just been hearing to the alumni sort of speak to, and I think it's kind of in this area, of conversation, is that the program really is, we're a big enough program, but a small enough program to be able to meet students where they are. And regardless of whether you're coming in from a more non-academic standpoint, or you feel very strong in your academic skills, the way in which the program is designed and how we deliver content and the resourcing that we provide really is meant to sort of hold and meet you on that spectrum. And so this is where we then invite you, and I think the alumni have spoke to this really well. This is where we invite you to kind of take ownership of your own education. We've provided you with these resources. We're providing you with the structure and the content. And then you have to find where you're able to meet the content in a way that allows you to be really successful in the program. And of course, you're not doing that alone. As Darren was just, pointing towards, there's ways in which you will automatically and almost immediately start to build some community with your cohort. You're placed in groups with a personal tutor who's there to really support you and help you through the program in the various different pastoral ways that they can. And, when it comes to the hours that you spend, I see some ranges getting put into the text. Now, we generally say that for the 3-year part-time program, it's around kind of that 15 to 25 hours. So you just kind of have to figure out where you're going to, within your schedule, depending on whatever obligations you have, how you're going to fit in somewhere around 15 to 25 hours. And it might take more on that upper end when you first start the program, because you have to kind of get on board. There might be new language, if this is new field of study for you, you kind of have to get oriented to the topics and the major theories. But once you settle in, you can find your groove, with it. Of course, constantly challenging yourself, through the theory. But we as tutors tend to provide more reading than you can possibly do in the 3 years as well. So there's the stack that you'll read is going to be this high, and the stack that you're going to want to read is going to be this high when you finish the program, right? It will just, your interest will just continue to grow, and you'll find ways to explore the topics that are really feeding your passions. So I think we have one more alumni that, or student actually, who arrived while the alumni was speaking. And I also see there's a hand up from Jeanette. So maybe Jeanette, we can go to your question and then back to Francesca.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, I've come out of a 2-year training in psychedelic assisted therapy. And much of that was taught online, but we had 2 large residential weeks of embodied presence with each other that really provided an anchor and helped create the container for transformative experience and work. And if this MSc is completely online, I just wondered if you could say something around that, how that works while we're all in our little boxes without an points of embodied presence.
I can speak to that, but I'm also happy to hand it over to alumni, or I just,
I'm happy to take that if you want, Kendra.
That would be great. Yeah, absolutely. Be lovely.
So apologies, I joined a bit late. I'm going to try and have my head in this. So I've just finished year 2 of the program, and Jeanette, to your point, I think what I notice, and I'm an executive coach, I do a lot of my work online anyway. And I think, any of us who work in a healing modality online will know that it is possible to have a powerful presence online. Is there something additional about having in-person experiences? Yes, I think there always is. But I think Alef are doing a really good job of finding that balance. The online, the fully online format of the program means that just a lot more stuff is possible. There are the possibilities of socials outside of the formal teaching process, particularly if there's a group of students within a particular area. There's the Eurotas conference that's coming up in Oxford in September. That's an opportunity for people to meet in person. But every single, and apologies if all of this has already been said, every single intervention, like whether it's a seminar or a small group teaching, starts with an embodied practice. So that the faculty do a really good job of inviting people into an embodied experience or into an imaginal experience, even if we're not physically in the same place. Would we all rather it was all in person? Yes, probably, but that's just kind of the world I think that we're all living in now. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Just want to jump in here for a second. Whilst you have a full-time job, probably kids. Okay, I don't have kids. I never came from an academic background. Okay, however, I was working between 70 to 80 hours a week. The team in Alef Trust assisted me on how to be more systemic, So those 15 to 25 hours, okay, extra allows you, okay, to not only, deliver, but also makes you more productive and systemic in your other areas of work. So and especially now, Victoria touched based on the online. Literally everything is online at the moment. We have our own conferences as well in the gaming world. Okay, we meet. Obviously, it's much better to be person to person, and the connection is there. But what I feel, in today's age, you can achieve a lot of things. Especially with the MSc, if you're really interested, don't worry about the time. Somehow it will happen, okay, and you'll get better systemically in your other fields. This is just my 2 cents, and I don't come from an academic background, and I still managed to get it somehow. Okay.
Yeah, I would like also to just add something quickly about the transformation during the program progression. And we used to see a lot of changes as we progress. Like, for example, year 2, there was a program that most of our students felt was too intense. There was too much work. And we were able to bring it up to the faculty, and they were able to make changes. So through the program, we were able to see anytime we brought in issues or issues came from the faculty, there was a lot of transitions, transformations. So it's as close to physical as it can get. Yeah.
Francesca, do you want me to share a little bit about my experience as a current student, or do we want to stay with the questions? I'm conscious you've asked me to come.
That'd be great. That'd be great, Victoria. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that there's a couple of things that I think are worth just sort of naming. First of all is how applied or academic the program can be, dependent on your individual preference. I have a very applied orientation. I'm a executive coach, and my interest is how we make space for the sacred in the corporate world. So a lot of the stuff that I've been learning in my first 2 years on the program, in fact, I literally just came from a call with a very big media organization, and we're going to be doing, we're going to be bringing some of the stuff that we've been learning in Alef into a leadership development program globally with them. So I think that if you have an applied orientation, if you're interested in how we bring spiritual, transpersonal perspectives and practices into the world, that's very much there. If you're someone who is more oriented towards just learning and personal development, all that stuff, sorry, that sounds a bit derogatory. Like if you're more interested in the process of learning and self-development, that is also very, very present. And the other thing, in the last open house that we did, someone asked a great question about what's fun, and I really liked that. And the thing that I really that I shared that I find really fun is you can basically study whatever you want, like within a really well-held academic frame. You can basically study whatever you're interested in. Like, I'm really into tarot and astrology, and I'm probably going to do my dissertation on tarot. I've been doing a lot of study on tarot and astrology within the context of the modules as they are. We did our research project on mountaineering. Like, it's you really can kind of follow your nose, follow the energy, follow your breadcrumbs. And that is really made space for, and there is no sense of, I won't say there's no sense of judgment, we're all human beings, but like there's no topics that are kind of outside of the scope of what is considered as a transpersonal experience, and I think that's really valuable. It's my tuppence worth.
Thank you, Victoria. Yeah, and I think I just want to say something about that piece around, conducting research according to your passion. Some people come into the program knowing exactly what they want to focus on, like Victoria has kind of just communicated. And some people come into the program with just a very general interest in these fields of study. And, you can just then follow where your passions, where your interests are going, let your research interests shape, as you go through the program. And when you get into year 3, when it's time to actually commit to a research topic, a research question, and a method, you'll be paired with an individual supervisor who will help you then craft it. Because yes, there is a wide spectrum of topics and areas that you can go and research. And it's our job, as tutors and as supervisors for your research, to then help you find a way to craft it and to shape it in a way that is oriented from a psychological, scientific perspective, in a way that really gets to understanding more about the depth of whatever the phenomenon you're interested in researching. And so we work with you side by side on that process in order to really shape your project into a viable research project that then you can, publish out in the world, or, go and speak at conferences, or, in different environments where you can then take that knowledge out into the world, should that be the way in which you want to apply it. So I'm just noticing time. Perhaps maybe Nick, do you want to, should we take more questions? Do you want to talk a little bit about the application process?
Yeah, let me just talk about the application process, since we're already into mid-July. So the clock is ticking, and we would really need to get your applications in within the next couple of weeks, very early August at the latest, since it takes, a couple of weeks on our end to go through the formal review process. With that said, I am here to work with each of you. I am in regular contact with our applicants. Should you need anything, we can do quick chats on WhatsApp, texting, call, and if not, on Zoom. I'm more than happy to walk you through the process. I can answer any question you may have, and if not, I will get the right person, group, or organization in. I've been in this position for more than 10 years, so I know all the ins and outs and how to get things done quickly. Also, should you have any further questions from this session, because I know it's an hour and we can't go into detail on everybody's personal situation, please contact me. I am available to talk with you through the process to see what's the best fit for you as we go through the program. Otherwise, I'd bring it back out. Any other questions you may have? I also want to bring up one we haven't responded to about careers. I'd say roughly half of the students who come in, they're looking to augment their career vocation they are already doing. So they'll expand, and frequently they expand to areas they did not consider. And that's, I think, some of the magic ingredient of going through learning through integrative practice. You're making this deep connection from within yourself, and what bubbles up gives you that clarity, gives you that guidance of what to do. Sometimes you'll see people who were set on working on something make a sharp turn of what they discovered, new talents, new areas of depth and interest from within themselves, and then they transmute that into a new vocation or career. So it's really up to each individual student and what you put into the program. We have people who come from all walks of life. We have people from the business, corporate, legal community. We've had HR managers, lawyers, CEOs. We have people who are already established as coaches, consultants, and some who will create companies for coaching consultancy. We have those from the performing arts, from martial arts, from people who run yoga studios, who are looking to bring in content to teach, to add. So it's a very diverse group. And the feedback we get from our students, how they love that there is this variety, and people who come from not just all walks of life, but all parts of the globe. So it gives you an insight how people approach things from different countries and different cultures. So at this point, I'll turn it back over to Kendra.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, I saw there was a question that popped up, but maybe in what Nick was communicating that answered the question. So I just wanted to check to see if there were any. I haven't been following the chat very well. So if there's a question in the chat that somebody else sees that we haven't answered, let's go ahead and answer that. But yeah, maybe I think it was Ben. You had your hand up. Do you still have a question?
Yes, in fact, the question I'm going to ask Nicholas just answered. So basically, I was concerned that because I'm from a completely not psychology related background and from a finance business background. So my question was like, if this business background not related to the psychological consciousness spirituality field will give you disadvantage in this application process?
Oh, definitely not. We have a number of people with your background. We received your application, so don't fret on that. In fact, if for those who do come from corporate background, if any of you do work within management theory, a lot of the research in management theory aligns with transpersonal psychology. Sometimes you do have the same researchers and the same studies, so you may find a familiarity in some of the concepts. But don't feel you're coming at a disadvantage. Probably more than 80% of our incoming students do not have a bachelor's degree in psychology. So yeah, there is a bit of that learning curve in the first semester, but we have it set in place. So, just look forward to being a part of the program.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
You're in the same position as I am, Ben. So basically, I didn't have any form of academic background. I'm always in business, and I'm not going to go away from business. Okay, this is never going to move away from me. It's something part of me. Commercial and commerce is always going to be there, but this adds value towards it on every aspect, and especially with building teams and personal.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I would say too, we've had some students who come from, very large kind of corporate leadership backgrounds who then have, the research is then focused on, different aspects of leadership from a transpersonal perspective. So, I think Matthew has spoken to this quite extensively in his sharing around how the learning augmented and supported not just sort of the, structural engagement, but also how students then approach their work. It comes from an entirely different integrative place because there's this whole different understanding of, perhaps who you are as a person in this world, as well as how then you can interact with business in a way that contributes to the larger good or to sustainable change or effective change in the world, that really takes into account the holistic being, in relationship and in partnership and all these various different ways in which that happens within the business world. I notice we're at time, but Ellis, there's something else that you want to say maybe before we wrap up today?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. I had no psychology degree, and look here, I'm teaching on the course now. I would say it's more about the orientation, a transpersonal orientation. And I think as a field, if you want to look at it broader as a field, we're not looking to remain, to stay in a kind of niche place where only people who have this orientation can, I think the transpersonal ethos is what the world needs, and so it needs to be shared in every avenue of life. So wherever you're coming from, I think it's actually enriching for us as an organization to welcome you. You all come with your experience, which we welcome. Yeah. Lower hand. There we go.
And I wonder if I could just add one thing as well. It's a 3-year learning journey, and we're really all in it together.
Mm-hmm.
faculty, the support, students and alumni. And if you do join, you will find your path, your way through.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for this hour. It's been really wonderful to hear from the alumni and to receive all of your questions and to hear your engagements and interest in the program. Please do take Nick up on his offer. You can reach out to him directly. He has been with the program, I think, since its inception, and knows.
Not quite. Ellis has.
Okay, Ellis has, but he came after, but he's been with it for much of the time. And he can answer all your questions around, the technicalities of the application process. I know there was some financial questions that came up too. So if you're still have some of those, feel free to reach out to Nick and he can help you out with that as well. But it's been wonderful to be here with you all. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. We appreciate it. We appreciate your questions. These were good questions for today's session. So once again, please contact me. I'm more than happy to answer anything you may have questions on about the program, and especially your application, because we are at the point we do need to get the applications in. And also, Fran did put up there, we are hosts this year for it'll be held live, not online. Oh, there is an online version, so you did not make it, for the URTAS conference in Oxford, September 4th through 8th. And this is the big conference for research in transpersonal psychology. Okay, thank you, everybody.
And I'll just say, if you want to meet the faculty in person, I think all of us, most of us, if not all, well, Ellis will be conducting the online presence, but then most of the faculty will be there. So if you have an interest in meeting us in person, that's a wonderful opportunity to join us there as well.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.